Hello and welcome. My name is John Costilla-Gonzalez, and I am the program coordinator for the Coalition Against Teen Substances, CATS, which is a subgroup of the Luna County Health Council. I want to welcome you to Prevention Live, brought to you by the Center for Health Innovation, Prevention and Community Collaborations Department. Prevention Live is a weekly bilingual series that focuses on key topics around preventing youth substance abuse among southwestern New Mexico communities. Today, we're going to be doing the youth brain versus alcohol. CHI staff will be working behind the scenes as I share this information. Please feel free to post a comment or throw out a question. A staff member will respond as soon as possible. With our previous presentations, we've been mostly focused on prescription drugs and how to prevent the misuse of prescription drugs. Tonight, however, we'll be largely focusing on alcohol and how the youth brain is affected by underage drinking. So we all remember when we were teenagers. We all remember when we were and we didn't make the best decisions. That's because our brain was not developed, was not easily developed until we're 25 years old. So let's talk about alcohol. Here's some quick facts. Did you know that alcohol is the most used substance among American teenagers? Why is this important? And what does this look like? It looks like 80% of all adolescents will experiment with alcohol by their senior year in high school. Why is this important? The reasons why this is important is because repeated alcohol exposure can alter the path of teen brain development. 11% of alcohol that is consumed in the United States is consumed by people aged 12 to 20, with 119,000 underage alcohol-related visits to emergency departments. In the United States, 8% of 8th graders and 29% of 12th grade students report drinking alcohol during the past 30 days. And 4% of 8th grade students and 14% of 12th grade students report drinking alcohol in the past 2 months. Now that we've discussed the facts about alcohol, let's look at the brain. The brain is separated into different areas. For example, the prefrontal cortex is in charge of critical thinking, which is the process of skillfully analyzing, assessing, and reconstructing thoughts. This kind of thinking is not yet fully developed in teens. In fact, teens rely more on the limbic system when they make decisions. The limbic system is tied to rewards and emotions. Now let's see the parts of the brain that alcohol affects. Those areas are the corpus callosum, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. The corpus callosum is a large bundle of fibers that connect the left and right hemispheres, and it carries information received in one hemisphere over to the other. It is a messenger between the left and right brain. When teens drink, the corpus callosum cannot communicate between the two areas of the brain, so cognitive performance declines. Now the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the brain structure thought to play a critical role in memory. Did you know that studies have shown that adolescents who drink heavily and often have a smaller hippocampus than students who do not drink, because of the damage done to this part of the brain by alcohol during its development? And finally, we have the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex controls short-sighted, reflective behaviors that take part in things like planning, decision-making, problem-solving, self-control, and acting with long-term goals in mind. We often hear that teenagers are quick to react, making seemingly poor choices or decisions and acting in an irrational way. This is because the prefrontal cortex of their brain, responsible for things like rational thinking, planning, personality, impulse control, language, is still maturing. When teens drink, they might be irrational, overly confident, and less inhibited. When developing adolescent brain comes into contact with alcohol, not only is the prefrontal cortex still in the process of maturing, but alcohol might damage these brain cells. Now let's see this in action. So on your right, you see a normal youth brain right here. Look at all that activity. You see the corpus comes from the information going back and forth. You see memories being made. You see people thinking of decisions. However, with a youth who's with the brain of a youth who drinks heavily, you don't see any of that activity. This is where the poor choices come in, the impulsivity. They're not these areas of the brain are not being activated. So this is how you see that how this affects. Now let us look at the areas that the actual functions that alcohol assesses. Decision making. When teens drink, it affects the prefrontal cortex. Therefore, they do not make very good decisions. Personality. Alcohol affects the corpus callosum, which affects the ability of the brain to go back and forth. Learning. When the teen drinks heavily, learning is also compromised. Since alcohol affects various sections of the brain, learning skills and memory decrease. And speaking of memory alcohol decreases memory recall by affecting the hippocampus. So what can we as the community and parents do to help warn our kids of the dangers of drinking? Talk They Hear You is a campaign that helps empower parents to acquire the skills they need to talk to their kids about alcohol. And if you have a smartphone like I do, you can download the Talk They Hear You mobile app. This allows you to practice bringing up topics such as alcohol and other substances, learn the questions to ask, and give ideas for keeping the conversation going. And for kids, you have the Alcohol FX mobile app. This app is a free science-based app that teaches students ages 10 to 12 how alcohol can harm their brains if they drink. This app is only available on tablets. So we'd like to encourage you to follow these Southern Prevention coalitions to get more information on how to keep your families and loved ones safe from alcohol. And we'd like to invite you to our next Facebook Live promote event, Why You Do Not Want a Fourth-Degree Felony. I know I don't want a fourth-degree felony. This will be presented Thursday, May 13th at 7 p.m. I hope to see you there. Thank you and good night.